the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Well, hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk Media Network, back in our Dave & Buster studios in Columbia. Phil Kornbluth and Pat Daniel here, and from the Bergie Palace in wonderful, wild, and woolly Sardis, it's Chris Bergen on this Wednesday night. Open up the phone lines for you early to get into us here, 888-898-2525, and we'll talk about what's been going on today and last night. Clemson up at Wake Forest. Tigers take their first loss in ACC play. They weren't going to run the table. I think everybody knows that. Last team to go undefeated in regular season ACC play was Duke in 1998-99. They went 16-0. Now you're playing 20 league games, and, Clemson's not going to win 20 league games. But I think the hope is to maybe go 15-5, 16-4 maybe, and that would be a heck of a season, and that would certainly put them at the top or near the top of the ACC and very high in the siege for the ACC tournament, and certainly clinch an NCAA tournament berth for them. But they got a lot of work, of course, still to do. They played shorthanded last night. Not having Chase Hunter, I think, was a factor. They turned it over 9 times in the second half, and Wake Forest converted a good number of those turnovers into points, so that hurt. But you give, Clemson credit in that they fell behind double digits, fell behind 15, cut it to 6 a couple of times. But I tell you, Wake Forest has got a good team now. They won 13 league games last year and didn't make the NCAA, and they're on course to do better than that this year. They got nice bigs. They got a couple of guards that can shoot it from deep. They do a nice job of penetrating and dishing it back outside for the three-pointer. They got a good team. They were well coached. Steve Forbes, B.J. Mackey. Had a chance to talk to B.J. Mackey after the game, catching up with him. He just really likes it there in Winston-Salem, likes the basketball on Tobacco Road. So keep an eye out for Wake. They host Virginia on Saturday, and that place will be packed, and that should be a really good game. Meantime, the Gamecocks last night, not much competition, Chris, for Ole Miss. Ole Miss came in 0-5 in the league. What we said, that was a little bit misleading in that they had played a very difficult league schedule to that point, and they put the Gamecocks really away, in the second half. They didn't have much of a response to the run that Ole Miss put on them in the second half, and so that's another home defeat for South Carolina, and the season is slipping away quickly from Lamont Paris and the Gamecock staff there. Though, look, you got to be honest, and you got to be fair in the evaluation and the expectation. And really, I know when G.G. Jackson signed with South Carolina, some people thought, okay, that's going to make all the difference in the world. And I said, well, wait a minute, not really, because you got to have other players, good players. Georgia had the best player in the country a couple of years ago, number 1 pick in the draft, number 2 pick, whatever it was. And they won like 6 or 7 games that year, maybe 8 or 9. They weren't very good. So one guy by himself can't turn you around. And he's not playing all that well either. So he's not playing all that well, can't do it all by himself. And that's why you're in the situation that you're in.
Normally in college basketball, you can almost get away with 2 really, really good players, perhaps a third. You look at Clemson's team, and you can pick out 3 or 4 of their guys that are key contributors every night, and that's why they've been successful. You're right about G.G. Jackson not being able to do it by himself. I anticipated, though, they would get much more on a consistent basis from Meechie Johnson out of the backcourt. And one thing the Gamecocks are doing, and Lamont Paris touched on this after the game last night, Phil, he said he liked the energy. There's no question they played harder last night than they did on Saturday against good grief, Texas A&M,
Hmm.
but certainly played better. But still, they settled for way too many 3-pointers. And I'm not sure who told Gigi he's a good 3-point shooter. He needs to work the ball and get inside. He needs to go to the basket more often. They don't attack the rim enough. They don't get enough easy shots. Everything they shoot is a long range three that's contested sometimes, or it's Michi Johnson standing out by the logo trying to throw it in from midcourt. They just settle, in my opinion, for way too many threes. They were 6 of 24 last night. They're not a very good shooting team to begin with, and you compound that with taking what I think are bad shots from the wrong people at times, and you get into a situation where you have guys you anticipate scoring 3 of 15 from 3-point range in Michi Johnson and Gigi Jackson, and you're not going to beat anybody, especially even a bad Ole Miss team.
Yeah, and now you got a really good Auburn team coming in on the Saturdays. It's going to be the third straight Saturday massacre for the Gamecocks
It
at
could
the
very well be.
CLA. I mean, that would be an opportunity for Auburn to put up a big number. They're deep, they're talented once again, and they're playing good basketball. So it's going to be a tough road to hoe for the Gamecocks moving forward. But there's always the USC women, and they
Mm-hmm.
continue, to be a machine. And they go to
And they played,
Vanderbilt.
and unlike the men's team, they played to their strengths. They're really good on defense and they're tremendous inside. And that's what Dawn Staley has done. And in
Mhm.
fairness,
Yeah.
Dawn Staley has been there a long time and built this program into what it is now. It's unfair, and I know you're not trying to do that.
Oh no.
But it's unfair to compare the women and the men because Lamont Paris is in his first season inherited some players, had to bring players in from all over the country and trying to blend them into a unit in time to play competitive basketball in the SEC. And that was probably unrealistic at the time. So, but yeah, the ladies played to their strength, and that's why they're as good as they are.
And keep in mind too that look, she struggled out of the gate with
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina until she started getting in some players. Frank Martin struggled out of the gate for a couple of years. Eddie Fogler struggled out of the gate. It takes time, so nobody is putting any pressure on Lamont Paris. He should not feel any pressure. There shouldn't be any pressure on him because he's basically starting from ground zero and had to take in a bunch of transfers, and that's not how you want to build a program by living off the transfer portal, John. I mean, you got to go get good high school players, bring them in, and develop them. And we'll see what he does with this recruiting class that he's got right now, and who he can add to it. Time will tell who else he might bring in. But it's obvious they got to upgrade the talent level across the board. But this current team now, there's no excuse for not playing hard. There's no
Right.
excuse for not playing physically, and they don't do that. They don't play a
No.
lot of physical basketball, and that's why they're getting killed by these teams. So we will hear from the two head coaches tonight as we reflect on those games from last night. Otherwise, not much else to tell you about. I know Gamecock fans want to know more about Trajan Jeffcoat and the situation with South Carolina. I can't tell you anything more than what we said last night, and that is I don't know if anything new today developed in any area. I mean, as we told you last night, they were still working on this thing, trying to figure it out and figure out a way to resolve it so it would work for South Carolina. Um, needless to say, as you can tell, how we've talked about it, it's a sensitive situation, and I don't know. I can't tell you with 100% certainty if it's a situation where it's South Carolina, it's officials there that are throwing up a roadblock, or it's something that they can't do anything about. Um, so I don't know. I can't tell you with clarity on that. Whatever the situation is that right now, he's not able to go to South Carolina. I can't tell you if it's because South Carolina. When I say South Carolina people are working on it, the officials are working on it. Yeah, they're doing that. I can't tell you that it's somebody there or group there that's put up the stop sign, or it's something following him from Missouri that automatically has put up the stop sign. So
Hmm.
it's a deep situation that goes beyond just your simple. It's not a having to do with any kind of an arrest or legal thing like that. It's not an academic thing either. It's not cut and dry like that. So just going to have to let it play its way out one way or another and see if he can eventually get into South Carolina or if he has to go somewhere else. People are saying, well, if he could, whatever the situation is, if he could play at Missouri with it, why can't he play at South Carolina? And that's a reasonable question to ask. Um, if there are some rules in place that pertain to a situation like this that stops a player from being able to transfer to another league school and play, that could be an issue. So I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see what comes of it.
Well, and here's
But
what
from what the best I could gather this afternoon from a couple people I've checked in with, nothing new to report there.
Well, and here's what probably bothers a lot of Gamecock fans, Phil, is as you try and describe this, I can tell you're being very measured in your words, intentionally or unintentionally. I don't know, but it's fairly obvious. If it's not something academically and it's not an arrest issue, you have to ask, well, then why can't he get into school if he could play at Missouri? And I don't know if USC benefits from coming out and saying this is why we couldn't let him in, or do you not want to throw the young man under the bus if it's all on him? This is a tough situation for a guy, as you pointed out last night, I think accurately so. Could be a major, major plug-and-play type guy for them on the defensive front.
No question about it. I mean, they need each other. He wants to be at South Carolina, closer to home, good situation for him, a good NIL deal with South Carolina apparently in place, good enough. And they could certainly use him after losing the players they've lost at defensive end, after the surprising departure of Jordan Birch to Oregon. That leaves them kind of bare at that position. So, yeah, this is a perfect scenario, but unfortunately, there's an issue that hasn't been resolved yet, and we're just going to have to wait and see if it's eventually resolved to the satisfaction of everybody involved. All right, phone number 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. We invite your phone calls to talk college basketball about last night or anything else in college basketball you want to talk about, or anything else you want to bring up related to football, of course, always open for that. Since 2002, more than $4.2 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to fund scholarships and grants for South Carolina students. Learn more about the Education Lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/education. Wins and playing for fun is a win for education. Anything else on your mind tonight, sir?
I'm sure we're going to get into. We've got to at least discuss, just because we have fun with NIL, the situation with Jaden Rashada, the quarterback at Florida, who's evidently backed out of a $13 million NIL deal with the Gators because the financial backing fell through.
I mean, really? Well, I hate to say that I told you so, but I do like to say I told you so. But I told you people way back when all this started, what was going to be one of the offshoots of it. There were going to be lawsuits, and there were going to be things alleged, and there were going to be contracts broken. And there may have been others that are not quite as notorious as this one. There may have been others, but this one is the one that's drawing all the attention because A, it's a prime player, and B, it's a huge contract. So, this may be the first one of its kind. I can guarantee you it won't be the last one of its kind. Okay, the phone lines are open. They're starting to heat up. Go ahead and grab one, and love to talk with you tonight on this Wednesday. It's an SC Wild night as well tonight. Major Downer will be with us. We're going to talk Ducks at 7:30. Be back in a moment.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the strawberry melon margarita or dangerous waters. Cheer on the team with cantina nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Hi, I'm Jim Corbett. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years. There's one thing I've learned about injury cases. It's you need the personal touch. You need the lawyer to get to know you and describe your damages. You don't want a case manager talking to an insurance company, and then talking to you, and then talking to maybe to a lawyer with limited experience at the last minute to try to settle a case. I talk to you. I find out what your case is about. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com for your injury cases.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer, and coming up tonight at 7:30, it's another edition of SC Wild from the Department of Natural Resources on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Hope, life, and the Great Palmetto. What do these things have in common? Scholarship dollars. The SC Hope, the Life, and the Palmetto Fellow Scholarships are funded by the lottery players of this great state. And after 20 years, you've invested over $7 billion in education. $7 billion. Impressive. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornblut and Pat Daniel here at the Dave and Buster's Studios right here in the capital city of Columbia. Be sure to eat, drink, play, and catch all the big games all season long. Dave and Buster's, Greenville, Columbia, Myrtle Beach. All right, your phone calls, 888-898-2525. That's how you can reach us here on Sports Talk. We'll get to your phone calls in just a second. Other basketball tonight. We've got Auburn and LSU tipping off at 7 o'clock. You got Florida and Texas A&M tipping off at 7 o'clock. I guess it says 7 o'clock Central, but the last time I fell for that, they went by Eastern. So I'm sticking with 7 o'clock Eastern. You're not fooling me again.
Yeah, if you're reading from ESPN, they always put Eastern time on their tip times.
No, they put Central time.
ESPN does?
Well, it says 7 p.m. CT.
Huh.
Yeah, but I know it's 7 o'clock Eastern, but it says 7 p.m. CT. I don't know why it says that, but it does. Virginia Tech and Virginia at 7. Furman, UT Chattanooga at 7. Wofford and Western Carolina. Winthrop and High Point. Presbyterian Upstate. Pitt and Louisville. Asheville, Charleston Southern. Arkansas at Missouri. That's at 9 o'clock. And then that's it for tonight. Tomorrow night, Charleston plays at Monmouth. Coastal Carolina home to Appalachian State, among others, tomorrow. Okay, shall we get to the phone calls? Love to hear from people tonight, hear what's on your mind. We go to Keith in Camden. First with us tonight here on Sports Talk. Keith, great to have you. Welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, gentlemen?
We're doing, I think, I can only speak for myself.
Fantastic.
Terrific.
Keith.
I had the, not to get personal or anything, but I had the annual oil change today, and all good. All good for another year. Checked the oil,
good.
checked under the hood. Everything looks good. So I hate to, every year K-Mac would be disappointed when I would come back and tell him I had another year to go. So sorry, guys, you're going to have to wait another year.
Yeah. Look, a rare miss. I missed last night, had a church meeting, but listening tonight and your opening comments about anybody want to call and talk about basketball, there's not a whole lot to talk about. I mean, it's like a pickup game. I'm open, shoot threes. Nobody drives to the basket. Nobody rebounds. I mean, my question is, if I missed it last night, have we done anything on the running back position? So I'm going to hang up and let other people get in line and talk. But it's a cluster with the basketball. Well, I don't know what in the world Tanner's thinking. It's crazy.
As far as your question about the running back position, now you're aware that in the early signing period back in December, they signed Dontavius Braswell out of Sandersville, Georgia, and they got the transfer, Mario Anderson, out of Newberry, 5'11", 215. Right. Those right now would be the two new running backs coming into the program. As far as anybody else that they're still looking at, they had a junior, not a junior college. They had a transfer running back come in who had been committed to Washington already. He's a transfer who has already committed to Washington, but he took another visit to South Carolina, and we've not heard anything more from him about, he hasn't commented about his thoughts or anything like that. He may be sticking with his commitment to Washington at this point. And as far as anybody else that the Gamecocks are recruiting at the running back position, and that's Dylan Johnson I'm talking about, a transfer from Mississippi State. And, right now, don't have any other running back hard leads that they're looking at for this class. I mean, the players that we have for them that might still be a possibility would be the transfers, Eddie Lewis and Malik McClain, wide receivers, and Dylan Johnson, running back. They all visited last weekend. Then you got receiver Elijah Caldwell from Northwestern, who's visiting this weekend, and they're probably going to get him. And there's Nick Harbor, the tight end defensive end out of D.C. that they hope to get. They're in a battle for him. That's another one they're still involved with. And then there's the Trajan Jeffcoat situation, defensive end. That's still kind of hanging over him. So I don't have any other running backs, legitimate running back prospects. I'm sure they're still looking at the transfer portal, John, to see if there's some others. And keep in mind, though you might not fill it right now, there's another transfer period that opens up in May. So there could be a whole new crop of running back possibilities to look at if you have room to bring them in under your 85.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, Phil, what do you think overall? Good move by Tanner, changing. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but man, this just is ugly. I'll hang up.
Well,
y'all have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Anytime you change coaches, Chris, it's a roll of dice. Sometimes you hit a home run. Sometimes you strike out. I mean, it's a roll of dice. And almost universally at a place like South Carolina, when you change coaches, you lose a lot of players, especially in today's world. You lose a lot of players. You're basically starting over. He is starting over. And I think you got to give him some time. I don't know what people expected out of. I think maybe getting G.G. Jackson kind of falsely raised the expectations. Fool's gold, I guess you could say. Fool's gold. And so you just got to suffer through a terrible year this year and see how he does on the recruiting trail for the rest of 23. See who comes back. I would imagine with the players who'll be leaving in terms of their eligibility being up, and then some other guys I'm sure who'll be leaving who aren't playing a whole lot and that they don't see any playing time in their future. It might be a complete wipeout of this roster once again when you come back for next year.
Well, and one of the things I think they're missing, and I hate to touch on this, but the fact that Ibrahim Adiba is not available for them this season is a big loss for them, because he would be that true point guard. He's a terrific defender, two things that they desperately need. He would have gotten everybody else involved, including G.G. Jackson, around the basket a little bit more. I think Ebo's injury during the offseason is one of the undersold stories of the year for Carolina basketball, because if he were in the mix, I'm not saying they'd be, instead of 8-10, they'd be 15-5. But I think they'd be a lot better. They may not win many more games, but I think they would be a lot more competitive with him on the floor.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. I'd totally forgotten about that. Excellent point. Now he'll be back.
He'll be back next year. Correct.
Yeah, he'll be back next year. Yeah, that's an excellent point. Thank you, Keith. Let's go to Ron up in Greenville. Ron, great to have you with us tonight. Hope you're doing well. Welcome in.
Well, I appreciate it, Phil. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. Sounds like you're feeling pretty good.
I feel pretty good today. I have my good days and my bad days. I just got over COVID-19.
Oh, no.
So,
good Lord.
I've got it twice, so hopefully I won't get it anymore.
Yes.
Just a couple quick questions. Did you say Furman Chattanooga's on TV tonight?
Furman and Chattanooga. Let me go back and look at that. Furman Chattanooga. It's on ESPN Plus.
Oh.
It's on the Plus. It's on the stream. The plus means it's a plus for us because you have to pay extra for it. That's what the plus means.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is there any way you could maybe look up Clemson and South Carolina's football schedule and go over the teams they play next year?
Yeah, be glad to.
For this year.
Mm-hmm. Be glad to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, just one other thing. Dabo Sweeney was down at South Carolina and would come up with 11-2 records, 10-3 records. He'd be making $20 million a year.
At South Carolina?
Yeah.
He'd be making $20 million a year because the Gamecocks would be so over the top excited about winning 10 and 11 games a year. But Clemson, you're saying they just take it in stride and they kind of hold it at about 9 or 10 million a year.
Yeah, I tell you what, if Dabo ever goes 10-2, maybe 2 straight years, he'll be in trouble.
No. All right, you sound like a hardcore Clemson man. Thank you, Ron. I know you are. Appreciate the phone call, and we'll come back after the break, and we'll answer your question about the schedule, so stay tuned for that. And we will also continue with your phone calls. Now, keep in mind the Clemson schedule, the ACC schedule, the dates and all that won't be announced until the 20th, though I did see where Notre Dame announced their schedule today, and they will play at Clemson on November the 4th. Don't know if that's been out already, but that's on the Notre Dame schedule. That was out at Clemson November 4th. We'll be back.
Point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy and muggy this evening with the low temp dipping down to 57. Tomorrow we'll have more clouds than sunshine and a 40% chance of some afternoon rain. A warm day with the high topping out at 75. A mild cold front arrives tomorrow night with a cooler Friday, but with sunny skies. The high will be 64. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Everyone seems to be hiring these days, but are they good jobs where there's potential for growth? What about on-the-job training and competitive wages, including health insurance and a 401k plan? Professional Printers is looking for their next star. They're a local printer with 2 locations, 130 employees, and a national clientele. If you've got a good attitude, want to learn some great skills, and work in a positive environment, reach out on proprinters.com or apply in person at 301B Greystone Boulevard.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting pro-life activists will have multiple reasons to celebrate and some reasons for unease when they gather Friday in Washington for the annual March for Life. The march has been held since January 1974, the year after the U.S. Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision legalizing abortion. This year's gathering will be the first since the High Court struck down Roe in a momentous ruling last June. The fight over abortion has switched since then to the states. Maryland Governor Wes Moore was sworn in as the state's first black governor on Wednesday, pledging to work for what he called greater inclusion and economic equity, while also focusing on improving education, fighting crime, and climate change. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 613 points, the Nasdaq dropped 138, the S&P lower by 62. This is SRN News.
Loyalty is an important quality, but it's not a given. It's earned. Shooter's Choice has earned the loyalty of people around the Midlands because they have great customer service, tremendous selection, and they've been the local guys for more than 30 years. And that should matter to you. If you're looking for the right firearm, ammo, AR accessories, even a gun safe, visit the folks at Shooter's Choice on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. This is where you'll find the experts, the folks that actually shoot, they hunt, or visit a big box store where you'll never see the same person twice, where their only expertise comes from watching some YouTube video. Shooter's Choice has the top brands. They offer classes to make sure you develop proper safety technique and skills. Most of all, they offer the best quality products at fair prices sold by good local people. If you can't make it to the store, you can visit online, shooterschoicesc.com. They're also on Facebook and Instagram, or they're waiting for you at 944 Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
You've seen the news. You've talked to your friends. You may have even looked around yourself. Home prices are nuts. Seems like no one is offering any kind of discount, except Lexington Discount Homes. Discount is their middle name. Quality homes that fit your budget with the size, model, and floor plan that your family needs. You can still afford your dream home at Lexington Discount Homes. Augusta Highway near Ballpark Road, 803-951-1900 or LexingtonDiscountHomes.com.
It's January. It's 2023. A brand new year. Time for a brand new pet in your home. Columbia Animal Services invites you to bring home a brand new best friend for the new year. Time to visit petfinder.com to find that new puppy or kitty cat for your home. There's no better way to get 2023 started than to do so with an adoption special of just $23. Visit petfinder.com and get your new family member to start the new year. Happy New Year from Columbia Animal Services.
Hi, this is Kevin Cohen. The Point is a unique radio station. We don't have a bunch of huge corporate sponsors, and we're not a part of a local group of 5 or 6 corporate radio stations. We're a locally owned and locally operated station. In fact, we're a family. We think community first. We're all about local. And if you're a small business owner, well, it'd be my honor to sit down with you, Talk about growing your business with the help of The Point. If you've never considered radio advertising, well, it works, especially talk radio. Our listeners trust us. They trust and they support our advertisers. You'd be surprised just how affordable running some ads on The Point can be. So let me put something together, a customized package that fits your needs, your budget. I'm not corporate. I'm just Kev. Call me, 563-8558, or email me at kev@makethepointradio.com. That's 563-8558, or my email address, kev@makethepointradio.com. Let's sit down. Let's talk about partnering up. Let's talk about seeing if we can grow together.
All right, so for Ron's question, the Clemson football schedule for 2023. And while we do this, we're going to play Pick Those Wins. So I'm going to, as I name these games, I'm going to say win or loss, and then y'all can chime in real quick. Let's do it quickly. All
right.
All right, so here we go. Only 1, 2, 3, 4 have dates right now. Charleston Southern, September 9th. That's a win.
Win.
Man, if you don't say anything, you can just agree with me. Yeah.
Okay.
FAU on September 16th. That's a win.
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 Notre Dame at home, November 4th. That's now, it's hard to tell what's going to be happening that late in the season. But anyway, November 4th, Notre Dame at home. That is a
win.
I'm going to go loss.
Win. Okay, that's a win. Saturday 25th at South Carolina, that's a loss. Ha! I said it again. I said it again.
2 years in a row.
That's a loss. And you say?
I think Clemson bounces back with Klubnik. I think they win.
Win.
Florida State, to be determined, that's a loss.
That game is
at Clemson.
At Clemson.
Got the best quarterback in the ACC.
Boy. Well, if
big pieces.
If May's not, if May's not the best, Florida State's got to show me. I'm gonna wait and see with them.
We're supposed to go quick here.
Yep, win for Clemson.
Win.
Georgia Tech, win.
Oh, good grief! Yes.
Wake Forest, win.
Time. Yeah, without Sam Hartman, win.
Win.
At Duke, win.
Oh, good grief!
Win.
At NC State.
Ooh.
New quarterback.
Yeah.
Armstrong, good quarterback.
Win.
Yeah, I think they win that one too.
Win. At Syracuse, win.
Mm-hmm.
Win.
And North Carolina, win. They still won't have their defense fixed.
No. Yeah,
win. So the home schedule for Clemson, they got.
Forgot Miami.
Oh, and at Miami. Oh, yeah. That's a win.
I think that's a loss.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
What?
Yeah. I think Miami is going to surprise a lot of people next year. I think they've got a tremendous coach, tremendous quarterback. They're going to have some good running backs next year, good receivers. I think that offense is going to be able to match Clemson stride for stride. And that being in Miami just adds to it a little bit. That's the one loss I have on their schedule next year.
Wow. And that comes, the date hasn't been set. And you say?
I say Clemson, first off, will have more fans in the stadium than Miami will. And secondly, they'll win that game.
Oh, and my apology. I don't mean that it'll be a tough place to play. I mean more so the distractions in Miami being the tough opponent and down there, not the fans.
Well, it's not like they're going to go down there and hang out on South Beach or anything.
No, that's
I
for
know. But still, I just think something about Miami.
What we don't know yet, of course, until they release the who will they play September 2nd to open the season. We know it's going to be a league game. Will the ACC try and have a primo matchup? Maybe would they pair Florida State and Clemson to open the season, or would they send Clemson to Miami to open the season? I doubt they would they can't be North Carolina because we know North Carolina opens the season against South Carolina.
And Florida State opens up against LSU.
Okay, so it won't be them. I bet you. Do you think they'll send Clemson to Miami to open the season? Just to have that big and maybe try to make it a primetime Labor Day night sort of deal? Clemson,
if I'm Miami, if I'm Miami, I think I lobby for that to give Pat, his predictions some credence. Catch Clemson while they're still trying to work in the new offense with relatively still a new starting quarterback. I'm not so sure that'd be a bad thing for Miami to open up the season with Clemson.
And that's on the table. I'm looking at ESPN. They have Miami's schedule next year, and the only one confirmed is 9-9 Texas A&M. They don't have a date yet. I'm sorry, a game yet on that Labor Day
no
weekend.
ACC team has their ACC schedule set. No ACC team has their ACC schedule set. That's coming out on the 20th. That's coming out in 2 days.
Wait a minute. They're releasing it on a Friday?
The 20th.
I mean, I know the ACC doesn't care about football, but good grief.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
How could it be any worse?
Yeah.
Let's just
on the
throw
ACC,
schedule
and
out
they're
on
doing
Friday.
it at 7:00 on the ACC TV network. So
And tell me again why no one has any respect for the ACC in football.
a lot of
There you go.
reasons. Pat, you look
Another
puzzled.
one right there.
I'm looking puzzled because I'm on their website. One of us is misreading this. I'm seeing Monday, January 30th at 7 p.m. exclusively on the ACC network.
Well, maybe that's when it was.
Okay, well, that makes a little more sense then.
The new one's coming up
Friday night.
in January. I thought it was
Friday
the 20th,
night.
but you're saying it's the 30th.
Yeah, and it's gonna a 2-hour television special.
Boy, I can't wait to see
Who's
there and
watching that?
watch the Georgia Tech schedule be announced. All right, so it's the 30th, not the 20th.
Okay,
All
all
right.
right.
That make you
back
feel
off
better?
a little bit.
That make you feel better?
Yeah, at least for that. Yeah, because I mean, you cannot have a schedule release. Even they wouldn't even do any sport like that. It's as bad as they are with football. You can't have a schedule release
All
on
right.
Friday.
So I got Clemson 10-2, missing the playoffs.
Yeah,
They got to
wouldn't
show
miss
me.
playoffs
They
at
got to
10-2.
show me. Listen, you fired your OC and your QB coach, and that's okay. You can blame him for everything, but you got to show me more at quarterback. You got to show me more at receiver. Your defense wasn't that great, and you're losing a bunch on defense. I got to see more there. Your special teams, they were below. They were average. I mean, your kicker was good until he missed a couple in the Orange Bowl. He missed 3 in a row in the Orange Bowl, I think. Speaking of kickers, what was up with the Cowboys kicker the other night? Have you ever? How many did he miss in a row? 3 extra points. 4 extra points.
Ended up being 4,
Four
and
extra
he made
points.
the 5th.
Amazing. You just don't see that. All right, the South Carolina schedule, real quick for Ron.
Well, one follow-up, though, real quickly for Clemson, though. The one thing you have to factor in, though, Phil, is, I mean, they play in an easy conference. And even if they haven't improved greatly, they still won 11 games this year with all the mistakes you just pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not going to get tested all that much in the ACC, so they can slide by with their B game on most days and come out with a win.
All right, to the Gamecocks now. Their schedule's set because the SEC goes ahead and does SEC things, which is announced the schedule during the middle of the previous season, because it just means more.
Mm-hmm.
Gamecocks will open up against North Carolina, Charlotte, September 2nd. That's a win.
I think that's a win, too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think they'll score enough because North Carolina is not going to stop anybody.
Heisman contenders. Furman at home on the 9th. That's a win, 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
At Georgia. By the way, did this come up? It came up on the show last night. Did it come up on the show last night? Yeah, this thing about the radio announcers in Atlanta took on Stetson Bennett.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, that's pretty stupid. At Georgia, you saw where the receiver for Georgia put his name in the transfer portal, John. The real good one. Come up with the name.
Mitchell.
Yeah. So he's put his name. He wants to transfer out. Quarterback question at Georgia. Who's the quarterback going to be? Gamecocks going into Georgia. I can't pick them to win that game right now. I got to say L.
I agree. Yep.
Got to say L. That's 2-1. Mississippi State at home. They should win that. That's 3.
I agree.
And 1 at Tennessee. They're going to have the hot shot millionaire quarterback coming in. I can't pick them to beat Tennessee. Still too much offense there. So that's 3-2. They get an off week. And then October 14th, Florida at home. I'll give them a W against Florida.
Yeah.
That's 4. Yeah. At Missouri. Yeah, I think they'll beat Missouri out there this time. Time to break that streak for
I mean, they just didn't show up and still had a chance to at least try and figure out a way to win that game in the fourth quarter this year. I think they get it done.
Well, you guys haven't been answering. So what did y'all think about?
I mean, everything the wins and losses that you've said so far, I agree with.
Pat?
Same. Totally agree. Yeah. The one that has given me a thought, and maybe shame on me after the last 2 seasons, that Georgia game. That may be a lot closer next year than people think, especially catching them third week of the year.
All right, so that's what we got them right now. We got them 1, 2, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 4-2, 5-2 at Texas A&M. Boy, who knows what to expect out of Texas A&M? 5-2. Probably gonna take an L there just because it's out there right now. I'd say an L. 5-3. They beat the Gamecocks of Jacksonville State and make them change their name. They can no longer be the Gamecocks. That's what's his face?
How much fun is that going to be for the announcers? Because you won't be able to use Gamecocks at all. You won't be able to use the nickname at all.
Back to A&M for a second. Let's remember they just hired Bobby Petrino to come in from UNLV. He was there for a week, but still came in from UNLV to be their new offensive coordinator. What do you guys think that means for A&M? Will that be a good thing? Will it be a distraction? Will he and Jimbo butt heads?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what to expect at Texas A&M. How that's going to work. I'm sure that Jimbo feeling the heat and felt like he had to do something. He's turning over play calling. Will there be complete autonomy? It's going to be hard to envision Jimbo Fisher not having input on play calling and running an offense during the game. He's done that his entire career as an assistant coach and as a head coach. He's never not run a game. So we'll see what happens. So Jacksonville State's a W. Vanderbilt the next week's a W. Anybody disagree with that?
Nope.
Kentucky at home, I'll give them a W.
Yep.
There. And then Clemson at home, I got them a W. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Missouri 5, Florida 6, 7, 8. That's a 9-win regular season for the Gamecocks. Could they?
I got them with 8.
Could they live with 9, 9-3, go win a bowl game?
Oh heck yeah!
10-3.
Take that. They'd sign up for that right now.
It'd be a step forward.
Well, because that would be what, probably second at worst, again third in the SEC East.
Yeah, I would say so.
Mm-hmm.
I would say so because you're losing to Georgia. In my book, you're losing to Georgia, you're losing to Tennessee. Yeah, but you're beating everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So while we're talking picking here, and we'll get back to your calls in a second, I have not formally announced the winners from our football filibuster and our pick'em contest for this year. I know it's a little bit after the fact, but what the hell? Might as well do it while we're talking about it. So congratulations once again to almost said Governor Dick Riley, who just had a birthday not too long ago. Governor Jim Hodges, even though he went 3-7 in bowl season, and Attorney General Wilson went 6-4. Final ledger, the governor 44-36, and the Attorney General 38-42. So the governor reclaims the corn cup for I don't know how many times. He's got so many corn cups in his trophy case, it's hard to keep count. So we congratulate him. As for the Sports Talk Pick'em Challenge, it's my esteemed pleasure to announce that Smitty, who had to deal mid-season with the birth of a child and everything else, somehow managed to smoke the competition.
Yeah, it wasn't close.
No.
Well done, Smitty.
4-6 in bowl season. He finishes 51-29.
Wow.
So I mean, nobody was even close to matching him. So Smitty goes 51-29. Fran Halloran, the money coach, 8 games back at 43-37. Bobby Harton, a nice showing for the Big Kahuna, 41-39. He finishes 3rd. Gentleman Jim Corbett, attorney for the Stars, and me, your humble host, we finished tied for 4th at 38-42. Pat and Kev Cohen and Teddy Hefner and the bad boy Alan Smothers all finished tied next at 37-43. Pat, what do you have to say for yourself? 6 games under 500. 14 games back of the winner.
He didn't finish last on air, though. Well done, Pat.
Next,
he's better than me.
Next would
Just
be.
glad I didn't have real money on it. That would have been ugly.
Next at 36-44 would be our own Chris Bergen. What do you have to say for yourself?
That pitiful.
That's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But you beat Dr. Rick Sanford. He's slumped this year. He's usually pretty good. Off year for Dr. Rick, 34-46. And I'm proud to announce in the basement, last place where he belongs, the former voice of the Clemson Tigers, Pete Yanity, at 31-49. That would be 20 games behind the winner. There you go.
Smitty lapped the field, didn't he?
He kicked butt. He took names.
That was impressive.
Yeah. Okay, got to hit the break, and we'll come back to your phone calls. I've been meaning to get that done, and finally got it done, so that's good. Hit the break. We'll come back to your phone calls. I'm glad we've covered the football schedule, so we've got our picks on the record now here in January. We got our picks on the record, and we'll see how much we change as we get closer to the 2023 season. Well, I mean, rosters are still not frozen. You still don't know who's going to be playing in what positions, Get back to your phone calls after this break. Don't go away.
Major Billy Downer here from the Department of Natural Resources, and DNR is excited to announce the implementation of Go Outdoors SC, a new online licensing and boat titling system that you can access right from your phone. Through this new system, customers can purchase their hunting and fishing licenses, renew their boats, apply for lottery hunt opportunities, and complete electronic harvest reporting requirements. For more information, visit Go Outdoors SC at your local app store.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer, and coming up tonight at 7:30, it's another edition of SC Wow from the Department of Natural Resources on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Everything I do.
All right, back to your phone calls. We appreciate your patience as we went through all of that for a little while here on Sports Talk. So we go next to, is it to Gamecock Larry? Gamecock Larry over in Swansea. Welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm doing all right, sir. Pat, just tell them what I'm picking. Tell them just wait till next year. But I got a little something to say about. I listened to another station today a little bit, and I'm tired of hearing the excuses for that basketball program at South Carolina. I don't think I've ever seen it as bad as it is now. That's even counting Darren Horn and all of them. A long time. Yes, sir. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, I said it when they fired Frank Morton. I said it when they hired Lamont Paris. Lamont Paris is not a SEC caliber coach. Now, he may be a good coach in the division he came from, but he didn't do anything in the transfer portal as far as getting the players. He went and got down to the lower level players. Well, I don't want to. Anyway, you know what I mean. He didn't go out here and get some players with a name. He got a scholarship left if we could have filled it. He's not an SEC coach caliber. I don't care what to say. We're going to be in the same shape we in today. 2 or 3 years from now, we're going to be starting over. Now, let me tell Ron in Greenwood. I think that's where you said Greenwood.
Greenville.
Ron, Greenville. We 4-0 against the Tigers in this new thing they got. We 4-0. Women's basketball, men's basketball, I think some kind of other thing they call soccer or something. I don't know. And football. And then I got to say something to Bruce in Missouri. Bruce, why don't drink, coach drink, and the Missouri athletics director, why don't you let this Jeff Coach, I think his name is Jeff Coach, why are you holding that young man hostage? Why don't you release him?
Now, first of
Let
all,
him come play.
first
Yes,
of all, Bruce is a Clemson fan. He's not a Missouri fan. He just happens to live in Missouri. So he's a Clemson guy.
well,
So you want to talk to him about Clemson, not Missouri. Secondly, to the best of my knowledge, it's not Missouri, the university, the school, holding it up. So, as best of my knowledge, to the best of my knowledge, the schools are not. This is not a situation where school A is keeping him from going to school B, or school B is not able to is throwing up a stop sign and not taking it. There's some other things there, that can't get into and can't really explain because I don't know enough. But that's sort of where it is.
Okay, Phil, I believe you. I believe you. Okay.
Why are you laughing? Why that was not a laugh. That was a laugh of ridicule. You're ridiculing me with that laugh.
You sound like them people down there that covering up for Lamont Paris. Man.
Ain't nobody covering up for Lamont Paris, but you got to give him some time.
Time. He'll have 3 years, and he'll be gone. They're going to give him they might make him go after 2. But he is not the SEC caliber coach. Now, I hope he's listening, because he's going to hear old Gamecock Larry talking. But, Lamont, I'd rather you be. I just want to stay in trouble with all you Clemson fans and Missouri fans and Ron in Greenville and all y'all. I have fun talking to you guys. That's all I got to say.
All right.
I'm laying here in my bed. I got my radio. I'm listening to the rest of the show. Go Gamecocks.
Okay. Thank you, Gamecock Larry.
And not to be that guy, Phil, but I can't take that anymore. First off, there are no players from Division II that were brought into the Gamecock program. They're all the same division. Everybody gets, well, if you play at a mid-major, you must be a lower division. No, they're all the same division that South Carolina's in. Plus, he's got players from Ohio State, Illinois, and LSU. I get the frustration, but good grief. I mean, if you're frustrated with Lamont Paris right now, are you the same people that wanted to get rid of Frank Martin? If you were in favor of getting rid of Frank Martin, then you need to give Lamont Paris some time to build his program. He's 18 games into the season? Is he even that far? Yeah. Where are they now? What are they?
8 and 10.
8 and 10. Yeah, 18 games into the season. I mean, his first season. Give him a little time. Good grief.
Absolutely.
Larry, back off the ledge just a touch.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate the phone call. Let's go next to is it Tiger Bryan? Tiger Bryan, up next here on Sports Talk. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I feel good tonight compared to the last caller, but he's fussing about that. Hey, South Carolina boys, men went down there and beat Kentucky. How many teams beat Kentucky? Really? I mean, if Clemson could beat Kentucky, I'd be happy. But I appreciate all the predictions all you're doing on South Carolina Clemson. And I ain't got nothing to say about the Gamecocks. You know that. But Clemson, you know what's going to be surprised with your corn?
What's that?
Our defensive back line, our defense is going to be pouring on this year. Because, you know what? What's the old saying? Defenses win championships.
Defense travels. Defense wins championships. So you think you're going to be better on defense, better in the secondary,
Yeah.
Still going to be strong up front. You lose Bressy. You lose Henry. You lose who's the other defensive end? You lose the other starting defensive end? Miles Murphy.
Yeah.
You do have Tyler Davis back, and you do have you have Xavier Thomas coming back. Yeah. But we'll see if they play better. They had their moments last year when they really had some leakage in there, but we'll see if they play better. All right, thanks for the call. We'll be back.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Pro-life supporters are ready to celebrate when they gather Friday in Washington for the annual March for Life.
National Right to Life Committee President Carol Tobias says this year's gathering will be different, since it will be the first since the Supreme Court struck down the Roe v. Wade decision last June.
We are celebrating victory. We are celebrating life.
But since the High Court's ruling, state courts have blocked several abortion bans from taking effect. The president of Students for Life in America, Kristen Hawkins, says the Supreme Court ruling doesn't mean the abortion fight is over.
It is simply the beginning of the next phase of our fight to work federally
your family, where you're going, be specific. Be specific. Because in this case, it worked out. We could ping the phone. And luckily, everybody takes their phone with them, and he had his phone with him. But, be specific where you're going so folks have a good idea. Not, I'm just going to Clarendon County or whatever to hunt. Where you're going, if you plan on hunting a certain stand, tell them exactly what stand you're going to hunt in or what property, where you're going to be. We always tell folks you're going fishing on the lake. Just don't say I'm going to Lake Marion. Tell them what land you're going to be at or where your truck's going to be parked, or your vehicle's going to be parked, your boat trailer will be. And what part of the lake you may be fishing, because you never know in a situation like this. Time is of the essence, and a good location is very important.
I got to believe too, when this happens, when there's a search and rescue situation that you guys are involved in, and it turns out well, you find the person and you bring them home, and it's got to be a great feeling around the department that you guys were able to spring into action and get it done.
Absolutely. And through the years and being a part of many search and rescues, I can tell you as an officer, it feels good to successfully find someone and bring them back to safety. We're always a part of both good and bad, and there's good and bad stories in our careers that we have to live with. This is a good story. It's one that makes you feel good about what you do. And our officers that are out there are proud to be the people that can go out there in the woods or on the lake and find somebody when they're needing help. And so that's something we did in this time. And I'm proud of the officers that are involved in that. The technology that we are utilizing now is certainly a big asset for us.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go from a happy story there to some other happy times. And that is, of course, people love duck hunting in South Carolina. It's a big part of the great outdoors, big part of SC Wild. And you've got a special guest tonight.
I do. We got Molly Neese coming back with us tonight. She's our state waterfowl biologist. Wanted to bring her back on. We had her on a few weeks ago. It's a good show. Want to do that again. Folks always want to know kind of what our waterfowl season looks like. And I wanted Molly to give us kind of an update of some of the areas, the highlights that she'd like us to know about. Where ducks are, particularly on the coast. Everybody kind of wants to know what's the migration like when it's warm like this. We kind of freak out where the ducks at. But Molly, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, Major Downer, appreciate you and Phil having me on again.
Absolutely. So we were talking earlier today. Tell us, understood in the last week or so we may have gotten to push a duck. Tell me about that.
Yeah, things are picking up from a southerly direction back on the coast, picking up some nice south winds, and usually this time of year, especially on the coast, we'll start seeing some more tunas pop back up in the area. There's blue wings, especially popping back up from Florida. Usually some fresh birds with some usually help hunters out this time of year. I certainly enjoy the blue wings this time of year.
So it's been a big blue wing push. Any other ducks?
Yeah, I think our green wings are bouncing around. I've heard good things about widgeon in the past week. Widgeon are funny. They seem to kind of come and go, but we certainly enjoy them when they got them. Real fun birds are real vocal. You usually hear them before you see them, and I know too. I love to watch them just kind of fall out of the sky. They tend to appear from nowhere, and so the past few weeks have been pretty good for us for widgeon too. And pintails have been really fun this year. All throughout the season, I've good pintail numbers on the coast in a lot of places. So pretty good year for us. I think I've been interacting with a lot of hunters on public land and really been enjoying hearing a lot of good things and enjoying some duck hunting myself. So.
Well, good. Well, so how about I hear this from year to year, and I've heard it in the Midwest. Out in Arkansas, gadwalls have been up this year. Have we seen that on our coastline at all?
Yeah, I think our gadwall has been pretty standard. It's an average year for us. But they're a great big bird to have in the bag, and I certainly enjoy shooting gadwall. But they were running pretty average from what I've seen on gadwall numbers in places that I kind of monitor on the coast, public and private. But so far looking pretty good on the gadwall too. So.
All right. So for those folks that may be looking to go, or maybe going on a Category 1 hunt coming up, kind of wanting to know where the hot areas are. I know you were telling me the Cape's pretty hot right now.
Cape is pretty hot. Cape and Murphy are man, those Celtic Coastal Reserve guys, we talked about them last time I was on, but they've got a lot of good things going on. Habitat looks phenomenal. There's a lot of really happy hunters. I mean, when you can have 18 people in the morning and everybody come out with 5 or 6 birds in their hand, that's really unusual for a piece of public land, and we've enjoyed that numerous times this season. So, they don't know a lot about the numbers, but man, it's pretty magical to sit there and harvest your birds, and then get to sit there and just kind of watch the wetlands and watch the waterfowl just around you. It's really been a great year for those guys. I mentioned Sandy Beach. Last time that I was on about habitat at Sandy Beach, and having some really great hunts there as well. Nice mixed bag of gadwall and widgeon, a few mallards, I think. A nice mixed bag there right off the lake. And you talk to some public land hunters hunting on the Broad River, and kind of Poro Reservoir, Monticello kind of area. And those guys have been having a good year. I've heard reports of canvasbacks and widgeon and pintails mixture in there. And those kind of upland sites can be a challenge to manage when we get big rainfall events, big pumps of the water can make those impoundments in those areas pretty challenging. But our Broad River guys have been really doing having a great year as well. So I've been doing a lot of enjoying getting out and interacting with staff and interacting with hunters on those hunts. Shaking hands in the morning and swapping stories after the hunt. So it's great to see people enjoy our Category 1 hunts. It's one of my favorite things about the winter. So.
Cool. So just to recap a little bit for folks that may not know, Sandy Beach is on the lower lake, Lake Moultrie of Santee Cooper Lake System, and you're saying that they've had widgeon and some you even said mallards, maybe even.
Hang on one second, Major. We're checking in with Molly because the cell sound a little bit weak, but Pat was just talking to her. Now we've got her back with us. So repeat your question to her, and I think she'll be ready to go.
Yeah. Hey, Molly, just talk about Sandy Beach for folks that may not know where that is. That's on Lake Moultrie, Lower Lake, and you were saying widgeon and gadwall and mallards there?
Widgeon, gadwall, mallards, really nice numbers of green wings too. So those guys have been having some really quality hunts. Habitat is looking phenomenal, and man, I've been really, really impressed with staff and the habitat there in that area. Is really putting a lot of work in. It's been good to kind of see the fruits of those labors and happy hunters come out of Sandy Beach this year.
Absolutely. Sandy Beach has not been as productive in the last 10 years as it was maybe 20 years ago. I know.
Absolutely. So yeah, like I mentioned before, we've done a lot of contract work there. Really getting those areas where we can manage them on a better scale and be more productive each year in our habitat management. And I think we're seeing a lot of fruits of those labors there. Those guys are really doing a phenomenal job. So really encouraging to see hunters come out with smiles on their face and 6 ducks in their hand. So.
Absolutely. And I wanted to point this out because I think when people hear that, they go, well, you're finally planting your areas again. That's not the case here. Talk about the kind of work that went in there to change Sandy Beach.
Absolutely. We've done a lot of work on those impoundments, a lot of cleaning out of ditches that are inside those impoundments that allows us to better pull water off when we get big rain events and things during the growing season. Because if your interior ditches aren't clean, your soil can become too wet, and it'll a crop like corn, that really likes to be dry. You'll flood that corn out when it's young and won't be able to produce a crop for the winter. So we've done a lot of stuff that really allows us to be more successful, have a greater opportunity to be successful when we plant agricultural-based crops in those areas. It allows us to put a lot of food on the ground. They've done too, a lot of that ditch clean out as well, and kind of leveling of the field bed really allows us to encourage good natural vegetation, those moist soil plants, different smart weeds and panic grasses and things that, ducks really like to eat those natural seeds too. So we've really got a good buffet of planted foods and natural foods out there. And, all that work of helping us move water where we want it, when we want it, has been super beneficial.
Well, I appreciate the out because I don't think people understand sometimes the amount of earth moving equipment, track hose, bulldozers that go into doing this kind of work to clean out a ditch. It's not just taking a backhoe in there and cleaning the ditch out. You're literally putting in hundreds of hours of work in, moving a lot of dirt around.
Absolutely, and work all the way from engineering and partnerships with Ducks Unlimited all the way to contractors that we bring in to do work, and our staff does a lot of heavy equipment work for us too. So it takes a lot of people and a lot of effort, a lot of planning to make those things come to fruition. And man, we really enjoy this time of year, seeing birds in the field.
Absolutely. So Broad River, what's going on there? Any changes in management there? Or we just seeing a better year? What's going on in Broad River?
We're seeing a really good year, but we've got some work going on there as well that's doing a lot of the same things we're doing at Sandy Beach. Looking at how we move water and how we control water during the growing season to allow us to more consistently grow crops for ducks and really kind of fine tune our natural management there too. So, but man, that whole area around Broad River has done really well this year. Good mixed bag of birds. I've heard guys hunting the river talk about canvasbacks and killing widgeon as well on the river there. And we've been seeing a couple mallards show back up, on some hunts there at Broad River. So hopefully we're on a good upswing there. Staff's working really hard there as well, and trying to push things in a really good direction. I'm really optimistic. Based off of what Mother Nature has provided us this year, we've been very fortunate on a lot of our areas, and our Cat 1 areas, and then even our public waterways as well. I've been hearing good reports. So.
Well, cool. So on average, our Category 1 areas, and this is kind of an off the cuff question, so take your time on the answer. We do have a lot of planted areas, and we talked about that before versus moist soil. Majority of our areas inland are planted. Our coastal units, moist soil. Is that correct?
Yeah. So inland areas are predominantly planted. We do a little bit of moist soil management on our inland areas. We're places where we've got the right soil moisture to encourage those things. Maybe a little too wet to plant. We'll encourage native vegetation on those areas. But on the coast, we're looking at either moist soil management or brackish water management, where we're targeting widgeon grass and spike rush. And all that depends on the salinity of the water, how much water is in the system, and it depends on what kind of vegetation that we grow. But two different types of management, but very productive for us. So either large grains or small grains and lots of small insects. So good duck food either way.
Absolutely. So we're looking at now what we've got. It's the 18th, so we've got 13 more days left in the season, just under 2 weeks. I know we've got some public duck hunt days still going on our Category 1 areas. Don't know about weather. You and I duck hunt, we know that weather is something we like to see. We like to see cold weather because it seems to push ducks in. But it's funny you're talking about blue wings moving back up from Florida, which is also an indicator of warm weather. They just move up and just migration. How much does weather affect our Category 1 hunts, inland versus coastal, in your opinion?
Your coastal hunts seem to be pretty consistent throughout the year. I've noticed past 7 years of being on the coast and watching Cat 1 areas pretty intently. You'll see pushes of blue wings come and go with winds out of the north and the south throughout the season. But, I think that big cold weather front that we got right there around Christmas was very beneficial for our inland areas. They tend to be a little more weather dependent than our coastal areas. I think our coastal areas get a lot of what we call calendar birds. They're kind of coming either way, no matter what the weather does. But our inland areas, I think, are going to be more weather dependent. Pushing down more mallards, and you'll see ringnecks come and go on those areas. I've seen a good many black ducks this year on some of our inland areas, some private places that I hunt. Seen a lot of black ducks too on our coastal areas, and I think those are usually pretty linked to that good weather that we like to see as duck hunters. Those good cold weather fronts with those strong winds. So I know I took my two nephews the Friday before Christmas, and I think I turned them into duck hunters with that magical weather we had right there before Christmas. So
Absolutely. And black ducks are kind of that special bird for a duck hunter that you don't get to see a whole lot of, so it's neat to see those. Speaking of the darker birds, your mottled ducks, do you see anything on our mottled duck take this year about normal? Have we seen any more being taken on our areas this year?
Yep, I think we're running pretty par for the course, pretty average on our mottled duck harvest this year. It's always fun to watch hunters take those birds because they're located on the coast. It's not something you can shoot everywhere, so people get pretty excited about those. So pretty average on our mottled duck numbers, but definitely seems like the best black duck year I've seen in the past 7 years on the coast. So pretty fun to watch those guys come in with those birds too. So, but always good to see those guys come out with a prize.
So Molly, on our mottled duck management, just going a little bit further with that, we've talked about on the show before. I know I've told the number, and I think we're probably still there. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're still around 20,000 birds for what we think is our kind of population.
That's correct. Mottled ducks are holding pretty steady, right around 20,000 is our best.
And I was telling people, they're very specific on their nest sites. They like points or reeds. They're going to nest over water. They don't use mallard, the mallard tubes if you put those out. Am I correct on that? They're pretty specific, right?
That's correct. Yep, that's correct. Real specific nesting birds in the habitats and places that you described, but they don't tend to take to those mallard hen houses, those nesting tubes, very easily. I've done a study on them, and I can't quite get them to take to them, but they love to hide down in the cord grass and sand cord grass, really places they can tuck in and hide, and right there on those brackish impoundments, and do really, really well for it.
And for those that may not know, including Phil, because I know you're wondering, Phil, right now what a mallard nesting box is, but nesting too, you basically take wire, like it's not chicken wire, but hard wire, or like your welder wire, 2x4 welder wire, and you fold it over and stuff it full of straw, wheat straw, and then roll it up and clamp it together with hog clips, and you basically make a tube of straw that a duck can nest in. They've done some of this in the prairies, and mallards will take to them, but we've tried it on the coast. I know in a variety of areas people have, and thinking that mottled ducks may take to it. It keeps them off the water. You can put a big predator ring around it to keep things from getting in the nest, but mottled ducks just don't take to them. But they've done pretty well on their own, seeing how we have 20,000 together now. And we're still doing a pretty robust banding with mottled ducks, aren't we?
We do some pretty intensive banding of those during the summer. We'll catch them during their flightless period when they're molting in their wing feathers, and have a pretty intensive banding program on them, monitoring populations and making sure that we're staying steady and doing well with our management there. So really interesting bird.
Absolutely. For the duck hunter looking for a band, you kill a mottled duck, pretty good chance you might get a band. We've done pretty well with our banding. Well, I know we're getting close.
Well, I have one question. I have one question for Molly before we wrap this up. Molly, head to head in a duck field, who's the better hunter, you or Major Downer?
Oh man,
we haven't done that, Phil. That's not fair to ask.
Well, in theory,
I'm willing to take that Molly, I'm willing to take that challenge on. You just invite me wherever you need me to go.
We'll make it happen.
How about this? I would be a happy loser right next to you.
So maybe we'll double back and give you a report next time.
Yeah, that's right. We'll do another report. Phil will have to do that. She and I'll go hunting somewhere. Molly will take you somewhere nice, and we'll see. I'll benefit from that challenge. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Be great.
Well, as we finish out waterfowl season, one of the things we want to encourage people again is we just talked about at the front of the show, talking about making sure you tell somebody where you are. If you're waterfowl hunting, the cold weather particularly, make sure you wear warm enough clothes. I just got back from a trip where make sure your waders don't leak. That's a big one. I mean, you're just going to get wet and you're going to get cold. And I was that way for 3 days, and I'd have paid any amount of money for a brand new pair of waders. When it's cold, the biggest thing is to stay dry. So check your equipment before you go. Do better than me. Make sure you have plenty of layers. You can take off layers. You can't add. That's one of the big secrets of trying to stay warm, is to have layers. that you can remove if it gets hot. And when it's hot like it is right now, you know, it doesn't look like we're going to have a whole lot of cold weather. But, you know, 30-degree morning can get cold, the wind's up. So just try to stay, you know, to layer up, stay dry, and let people know where you're going. Be specific. Tell them where you're going to be and when you plan to return.
Guys, thank you. Thank you, Major. Thank you, Molly. SC Wild tonight here on Sports Talk. We enjoyed it. Have a great night.
Someone will be right with you. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107.